like topics we have to see to understand this very important conflict happening in our country. An assumption to understand this problem is that on February 2013, in the west state of Mexico, named Michoacán, there is a kind of a civil war happening, but this is not a civil war. This is a conflict between the state and non-state actors. There are firstly three groups that participate in this conflict: the state, the civil society, that it's called the auto-defense or self-defense groups, and some groups called the caballeros templarios. What is a self-defense or auto-defense group? These are groups formed by civil society, mainly by agriculture and farmers in the state of Michoacán. They claim that this movement is an answer to a legitimate answer to the people in the state that wanted protection and that this state was not able to provide it. What is a self-defense or an auto-defense group? In the state of Michoacán, these groups are mainly formed by civil society, farmers and agricultures, and they claim that they are like taking the power to protect the state because the government is not able to do it. Why? Because they want to stop all the extortions, the murders, the rapes, and all these like violence abuse that has been happening in the state. The first auto-defense groups appear in the localities of Ruana and Tlecatepec. Are they legal? Who is their leader? Who is financial? The President Enrique Peña Nieto and the Secretary of Government Miguel Ángel Osorio Chong have declared the past January 27 that they are going to finance these groups because they want to support this cause in Michoacán. They asked the civil society and the auto-defense groups to make a register of how many are they, who is their ownership, and how do they work. Also, the leaders of these movements have claimed that they get mostly of their financial help because of the money they take from the criminals as well as the weapons they take, and that is what they are using to defend the people in Michoacán. Caballeros Templarios is an evil needed in the state. This was said by Servando Gómez Martínez, who is himself a leader of this movement. The Templarios once freed the people of Michoacán from criminal activities made by the cartel Los Zetas. But now, there is some claims that this group of Los Caballeros Templarios is also doing that same kind of activities that they free the people from, just as the cartels in the past times. This group, Los Caballeros Templarios, was trained by the main cartel in Michoacán called La Familia to defend the population from the Zetas, and they were trained by military.
After 2 weeks of the auto-defense groups taking advantage of commerce, offices of governments, and also take several territories on the state, the federal government decided to make a strategy to take into account the territory of Michoacán with several militaries and with all the forces that the state can bring to be secure. Number 7. What is Tierra Caliente? This attempt and assumption makes an important reliance on the territory of Michoacán. Why is so important the state of Michoacán for these groups, for these narcotraffics? Well, Michoacán is one of the main states on production in vegetables and fruits, and it has a soil that can be attempted to plant any type of marijuana, and it has the weather to establish this type of plantation. A problem with deep background. The Secretary of Government said that this problem in Michoacán has not been actual. It has had different attempts in past years. It all started when in 2006 President Felipe Calderón took into power and decided to declare the war against the group of narcotraffickers. But then, they realized that the state of Michoacán was not the only one that was having problems, that was having attempts against the civil society. This problem started to go up and start to establish on Tamaulipas, Guerrero, Nuevo León, and several states up in the north of Mexico. So then, the troops in Michoacán started to go away and Michoacan left alone. What did the border states need? After a week, there was announced a strategy of the federal government to help Michoacan. 6 different governors of different states that are Jalisco, Colima, Guerrero, Guanajuato, Querétaro y el Estado de México established that they were really concerned about this insecurity and these criminal orders in the state of Michoacan. So they decided that they will ban any type of communication or any type of relation with this state for their own good. And why does the Mexican state care about? Well, this is a really important point because this issue in Michoacan make the Enrique Peña Nieto president in Mexico realize that this was a huge problem. Only in the past years, between 2006 and 2012, there were about 70,000 deaths related to the organized crime of narcotraffics. Then, about an estimation of 26,000 people missing. These estimations were realized as a very important issue for the Mexican state, and they need to analyze what are they going to do and what strategy to come and solve this conflict for the benefit of all Mexican people. To have a better analysis of this conflict, we're going to listen to people from two different perspectives, constructivist and realist perspective.
Well, in order to understand the conflict in Michoacan, we must understand that this conflict started between authorities and organized groups. The authority in this case is the local police, the federal police, and the army. And the organized group is called Caballeros Templarios. It's also known as Knight Temple Order. And well, the idea is that this conflict between authority and organized crime creates this notion of insecurity within the population. And this leads to this new concept of self-defense groups that are civil society with arms that are trying to protect their own community. And well, the problem here is that the conflict started between authority and organized crime translates to be a conflict between the organized crime and the self-defense groups.
So to first understand clearly this situation, we have to know how did this self-defense group emerge or came to be. So to explain this, many scholars have used different theories to provide an explanation to this. For example, the realists, or the scholars who are realists, mainly structural realists, use the theory of walls. They say that there is anarchy in the international system, and because of anarchy, the states need to have power so they can survive, because their main goal in the international arena is to survive, because there's anarchy and they can protect each other. There's nothing that can protect these states. So if we apply this theory to the Michoacan conflict, we're saying that because the Mexican state is unable to provide some kind of protection to its citizens, this creates a notion of anarchy. And maybe it's not anarchy per se, like in the international system, but it's some kind of notion of anarchy. So the self-defense group start to act like a state. So what do they want? They want to acquire power through using arms. So they buy guns and all that, and also to territory. So they want to expand their influence throughout the Michoacan state. So they're acquiring this type of power because what do they want? Their main goal is to survive. Survive this kind of situation that they're having about the drug cartels, los caballeros templarios, and all that. So that's why they want power, because they want to survive this kind of situation that they're in.
On the other hand, we have the constructivist theory. So scholars of this theory are saying that the emergence of the self-help groups are the result of a really complex process about identity construction and interest. So, first we have the identity of the self-help groups is constructed through the interaction of three key actors, that is the government or the state, the drug cartels, los caballeros templarios, and the people of Michoacán. So we have first that in this interaction the government doesn't provide or can provide any kind of protection to the citizens from the drug cartels, los caballeros templarios. So the identity of the self-defense group emerges. And what after the identity is constructed, we have the interest, and the interest is to survive, just like the realist. And then after this interest will shape the behavior of this actor. The self-defense group will behave as they want to survive through different means, through territory control, through arms, and all that. So, in conclusion, we have that both theories agree that the interest or the main goal of the self-defense group is to survive. However, according to the realist, that this interest is already given because of the structure of the anarchy that is created. And then we have, on the other hand, the constructivists are saying that this interest is constructed through the relationship between different actors.
We're going to analyze the possible consequences of this problem. To you, Fer.
I'm going to explain you the consequences of the Michoacán conflict from the perspective of the constructivism. According to constructivism, if the relationship between actors, state, self-defense group, and the Knight Templar's order change, this will change the interest of the self-defense group, and therefore the relationship and behavior of the actors will change. This can lead to a change in the whole system. This is one of the predictions for the Michoacán problem, but we will have to wait and see the outcome of the problem. This will be an important event for history in fact of the relationship between state and the self-defense group. Back to you, Grace.
Perspective, we have Rodica Lopez to tell us about this problem.
Actors in Mexico have always behaved the same way, the state being incapable of reacting to any given situation and civil society doing everything by itself. Nevertheless, through history, we have seen that although civil society can be active, they have no access to the system in order to achieve a real change. This is a realist perspective, but we'll have to wait until we can see an outcome.
Thank you to all our audience. And remember, we're gonna see you tomorrow at the same hour and at the same channel.
Bye!